I will honestly say I don't remember ever speaking a word to Esther. At that time, we were never friends. We never spoke to each other, only on the set.
Jimmie Walker admits he destroyed the one relationship that mattered most. The same man who made America laugh with Dyn-o-mite confesses how he deliberately sabotaged his co-star Esther Rolle's vision for Good Times, turning their groundbreaking show into a battleground. She walked off set in 1977 and never truly forgave him, even until she died in 1998. What did Walker do that pushed Rolle to quit? And why does his confession come too late? Join us as Jimmie Walker tells the truth about Esther Rolle, America's favorite TV mom, called out her own son. Esther Rolle resented the idea that children of that time could make it by standing on the corner saying Dyn-o-mite. She did not whisper this behind the scenes. She said it out loud on record to Jimmie Walker and his character, who was making a lot of money. It was 1977, and Good Times, a CBS sitcom about a black family in Chicago housing projects, was very popular. Walker's catchphrase had become everywhere. Kids copied J.J. Evans' expressions and silly faces.
JJ, what's wrong with Mom? Why isn't she crying?
I don't know why she ain't crying.
The show was making a fortune. Rolle played his mother, Florida Evans, and she had had enough. She walked off the set and did not come back. At a time when actors clung to their jobs, Rolle left steady work and fame because she believed Walker was doing more than making bad television. He was hurting culture. Born November 8, 1920, in Pompano Beach, Florida, Rolle trained in classical theater and spent years fighting for roles that had depth and dignity. When Norman Lear offered her Good Times, a spin-off from her Maude character, she saw a chance to show a black working-class family honestly, to talk about poverty and racism without exaggeration. Then, J.J. came along. Walker's character was skinny, loud, always making faces, and became the center of the show. By the second season, scripts meant to handle serious issues were rewritten to give J.J. more screen time, more physical comedy. More Dyn-o-mite network bosses loved the ratings. Norman Lear worried that Walker's style was taking over and suggested acting lessons, but nothing stopped him. Rolle saw the show change. Episodes about unemployment discrimination and struggle were replaced with J.J. jokes. The drama she fought for was lost in laugh tracks. She spoke out, calling Good Times clownish without honesty or meaning. She said Walker's character sent the wrong message to black children that mugging and catchphrases led to success, not work or education. The stress was too much. Rolle and John Amos, who played her husband until 1976, felt the show's soul was slipping away. Rolle did something rare. She quit. She left in 1977, leaving Good Times without its moral center. Her absence forced the show to confront what it had taken for granted. Without Florida Evans, the episodes felt hollow and unbalanced. The storylines lost their emotional weight, and the ratings reflected it. Viewers missed the anchor that Rolle had provided. Networks noticed the drop, and negotiations began. In 1978, Rolle returned with the assurance that scripts would be adjusted and her character would carry the dignity she had fought for. She won that battle and made it clear that the show could not ignore her influence, even as Walker continued to dominate the comedic moments. But her victory was only partial. Walker remained the star, drawing the biggest laughs, still controlling the tone in ways that made her physically uncomfortable. They maintained a professional relationship, but never developed closeness. They worked together until the series ended in 1979, but the emotional distance persisted. When Rolle died on November 17, 1998 at 78, that distance had never closed. But what if Rolle's public walkout and their competing visions weren't the real story at all? Walker did everything on purpose. In 2017, almost 20 years after Esther Rolle died, Jimmie Walker sat down for a long interview with the Television Academy. What he said could have been big news, but it was filed away as routine. Now at 78, those words sound different. Walker called himself a comedy kamikaze, and he did not mean it as an apology. He meant it as a mission. When the cast did not like his humor, Walker would step into scenes on his own terms and deliver lines to the audience to get a reaction. When his co-stars, including Rolle, went for serious emotion, he would shift the tone on purpose, taking attention away from the ensemble. He did it intentionally, night after night, changing how the scenes felt. Walker knew what he was doing. He knew people did not approve. He knew Rolle was angry. He knew Norman Lear was uneasy. And he did it anyway because audiences laughed.
Tell me don't go by me. I cry at stop signs.
Walker was born June 25, 1947 in the Bronx. He grew up with hardships raised by his mother, Lena, a head nurse, while his father was mostly absent. He went to RCA Technical Institute, worked as a radio engineer, and then found stand-up comedy in early 70s New York. He came from stand-up, where timing and punchlines ruled. Rolle and Walker brought very different energy to the set, and each tried to make the show work their own way. The truth is, Walker was not trying to fit into Rolle's vision. He was replacing it scene by scene, joke by joke. He talks about episodes where dramatic moments were undercut by his comedy, and he was the one putting those jokes back in. What makes this striking is that Walker never apologized. Not in his book Dyn-o-mite Good Times, Bad Times Are Times in 2012. Not in that 2017 interview. Not now at 78. He says he understood Rolle and respected her, but he never admitted he was wrong. From his view, he was doing exactly what he was hired for, connecting with audiences. J.J. Evans made him a star. Kids copied his walk, his talk, his expressions. From a comedian's point of view, that is real success. But Walker also became proof of what Rolle had feared most. He was willing to trade meaning for laughter. He often said that if his co-stars would not react to his jokes, he would perform directly to the audience instead. He cared more about keeping the crowd entertained than protecting the message of the scene. For Rolle, that was the problem. The show was supposed to tell the truth about real families and real struggles. For Walker, it was about rhythm and reaction. He wanted the laugh, even if it meant breaking the moment that made the story real. Rolle saw it happen as it happened. She came from a theater where the ensemble and the vision mattered. She spent her career getting roles that gave black families dignity. Good Times was supposed to be her big achievement. Walker was turning it into the J.J. Show, one episode, one laugh at a time. But here's the question nobody was asking then, and few are asking now. If Walker understood he was undermining Rolle's vision, why did he have the power to keep doing it even when the show's original star was vocally, publicly, desperately trying to stop him? Choosing dollars over dignity. The truth is, CBS and Norman Lear Productions knew what they were doing when they let Jimmie Walker take over Good Times. It was not a mistake. They wanted ratings and excitement, and they knew his comedy could deliver that, even if it meant losing the serious message the show started with. When Esther Rolle said the show was turning into a caricature, she was not ignored because they did not get it. They ignored her because they did get it, and decided ratings mattered more. Walker's J.J. was pulling in viewers. Dyn-o-mite was selling merchandise. Kids were watching the show in ways a serious family drama could not reach. Norman Lear said he was uncomfortable with Walker's style and even suggested acting lessons. But Lear did not stop him. He let it happen. He allowed it because the network could not ignore the ratings.
Hey, you remember my old ugly sister over here, Frog Face?
Well, we were just gonna go bowling. Would you guys like to come?
By season 2, Walker's bits got more attention than anything else. CBS leaned into it because it worked. When Rolle walked off in 1977, she was betting that Good Times needed her more than it needed Walker, and that the show could not work without its moral center. At first, she was right. The show struggled without Florida Evans. The episodes felt hollow, but CBS brought her back on their terms, not hers. Yes, there were negotiations. Yes, there were promises about scripts. But Walker stayed. The formula stayed. The network learned the show could survive without Rolle, even if it suffered. They could not survive without Walker. The compromises were just enough to get her back while keeping what CBS valued most, Walker's ratings. For Rolle, this meant coming back to a show that did not really need her, where her co-star could undermine serious scenes, and the network showed that ratings mattered more than integrity. John Amos had left in 1976, frustrated with the same direction. His character was written out in season 4, leaving Florida alone. Rolle saw that speaking up could get you removed, and fighting for substance got you sidelined. Walker faced no consequences for hijacking scenes for laughs. After Good Times, Walker went back to stand-up touring the country. He appeared on The Love Boat, Fantasy Island. The Drew Carey Show, Everybody Hates Chris. In 2010, he was in Big Money Rustlers. In 2023, he guest-starred on The Bold and the Beautiful. He kept working, staying Jimmie Walker, the comedian who put laughs first. Rolle kept acting after Good Times, but never got another platform like that show. She stayed a voice for honest representation until she died in 1998, but she lost her biggest fight. Is that how it ends? Walker controlled the story. Esther Rolle died on November 17, 1998 at 78. 14 years later, in 2012, Jimmie Walker published his memoir, Dyn-o-mite, Good Times, Bad Times, Our Times. The timing was not an accident. Jimmie Walker waited 14 years before telling his version of the story. As long as Esther Rolle was alive, he stayed mostly quiet about what really happened on the set. When she passed and could no longer speak for herself, he finally wrote his book. In it, he does not hide anything. He talks about the tension that never went away and the constant disagreements about what the show should be. He says Norman Lear was often frustrated with him and wanted a different kind of performance. He admits that by the second season his jokes had taken over and the show's focus shifted.
Yeah, Daddy. I heard if you don't cry, they give you a lollipop.
He also says the cast was never close, even though they worked together for years. Everyone did their part and went home. His book shows a world that looked warm on screen, but was cold once the cameras stopped rolling. What makes the timing important is that Walker framed it on his terms. He presents the conflict as two valid visions clashing. He explains his choices without apology. He mentions Rolle's concerns without admitting she was right. It shows he could appear honest while keeping control of the story. Rolle could not speak anymore. Her side of the arguments, her feelings during Walker's worst scene-stealing moments, her private talks with Lear about his behavior, whether reconciliation was possible, all of that ended with her in 1998. Walker's book became the main record because he outlived her and chose to speak. His 2017 Television Academy interview expanded on the same points. He gave the information freely, framing it as transparency, not wrongdoing. Rolle was not alive to respond, so Walker's version became the accepted one. That creates a clear power imbalance. Would he have written so openly if Rolle were alive? Would he have been so candid in interviews if she could dispute him? We will never know. What we do know is he waited until the fight was over, until she was gone, before telling the full story. Walker's control did not stop with the book. In 2012, he made public appearances that revealed more about him. On June 27th, he was on The Wendy Williams Show and said he had never married and had no children. It was not regret, it was a choice. On July 11th, he appeared on The O'Reilly Factor and said he did not vote for Barack Obama in 2008 and would not in 2012. A black entertainer openly saying he opposed the first black president. He did not back down. On CNN, he called himself a realist, independent, and said he opposed affirmative action. On gay marriage, he said he was personally against it, but believed it should be legal because resistance was futile. The pattern is clear. Rolle told him to tone down the comedy, he did not. Lear suggested acting lessons, but he ignored them. Society expected him to vote a certain way, he did not. Every time he was told what to do, his answer was the same. No, he will be doing it his way. The same stubbornness that made him a comedy kamikaze on Good Times made him a political outlier and allowed him to control the story of Good Times after Rolle died, which makes what's happening now, at age 78, so striking, because Walker is finally saying something he's never said before. What does he say? The one thing Walker can never take back. If he could speak to her today, Walker would say thank you for her conviction and her strength for standing by her beliefs and teaching lessons even when he resisted them. He would admit that she gave Good Times its meaning, its moral weight, and its soul. Walker said this recently at 78, and the words carry a weight his earlier comments never had. They show the truth he cannot undo. He and Esther Rolle never reconciled before she died in 1998. They worked side by side, with respect in their last season, but the distance between them remained. Walker has said that Esther's toughness came from caring deeply about the show. She believed Good Times was more than entertainment. It was about dignity and representation.
Well, I was, but the Lord detoured my footsteps in this direction. What you doing here?
Back then, he did not see it. He was young, focused on the laughs, the fame, and the reaction of the audience.
If somebody really wants to help me, ask me to come home.
With age, he sees that Esther was not just difficult. She was defending something important. She was fighting for truth in a place that often chose applause over honesty. He still believes he was right to make people laugh, but he now sees something he could not then. Rolle was not his enemy. She was fighting for him too, fighting for the dignity of the work they were doing. Walker now credits Rolle for keeping Good Times real by insisting that the black family be dignified, strong, and authentic. He admits his comedy made the show popular and reached audiences, but her insistence on substance gave it the weight it would not have had otherwise. They needed each other, even as they fought. What stays with Walker now is not the chaos of Good Times. He has come to terms with that. It is what came after the silence, the phone call he never made, the conversation he kept putting off until it was too late. He never got to tell Esther Rolle how much he respected her and how much her strength mattered. That is what weighs on him. He says if he could talk to her today, he would just say, "Thank you." No excuses, no explanations, just thank you. But that moment is gone, and he knows it. That is the part that hurts. The chance was there, and he let it pass. Not out of pride or anger, just time slipping away until it was too late to fix what silence left behind. This regret is painful because it is unlike him. He has spent his life refusing to apologize, refusing to second-guess himself. His memoir shows no remorse. His mobile app with the Dyn-o-mite button shows he was still proud of the catchphrase. And what makes it worse is that Walker knows at 78 that he's running out of time. But there's still one more truth he didn't anticipate. Are you ready? We've been watching the wrong story. The truth is, Jimmie Walker has been saying all of this since 2017. His Television Academy interview from February 7, 2017, when he was 69, has almost everything now being called finally telling the truth. The record of his thoughts on Rolle, his acknowledgments of tension, and his comedy kamikaze comments have been public for nearly 8 years. So why are headlines saying Walker is finally revealing the truth at 78? Why are YouTube videos selling it as a deathbed confession? Because dramatic late-life stories get attention, because a 78-year-old finally tells the truth gets more clicks than a middle-aged man giving a full interview years ago, because people want the performance of truth, not the truth itself. What is different now is not the content, it is the packaging. With Walker in his late 70s and Good Times getting new attention through streaming, his reflections are treated as confessions rather than old interviews. People want deathbed revelations, so that is the story being sold, even though it is not what happened. This shows that something important matters less than framing Walker's honesty 7 years ago got little attention. The same honesty today goes viral because of how it is presented. But this does not change what Walker is actually saying. It means we need to look past the framing to see the real story. The real story is not Walker versus Rolle. It is what happens when the entertainment industry demands art serve two incompatible goals. Good Times was asked to be commercially successful and socially important at the same time. Walker and Rolle were not really fighting each other. They were trapped in a system that wanted conflicting results.
So far, we have managed to stay on the right road.
And that's what's taking us so long to get out of here.
CBS wanted Rolle's dignity for prestige and Walker's comedy for ratings. Walker chose laughter because that was his language, his tool. Rolle chose dignity. She had spent her life fighting for it because black families were rarely shown with humanity on television. Both were right. Both were necessary. Both were doomed to conflict because the system expected one person to deliver comedy and substance without tension. Walker got fame, money, a long career, and the label Dyn-o-mite guy celebrated as a comedian.
Hello, lucky person. You got the number right, because you are talking to kid a dynamite.
But never fully taken seriously as an artist, Rolle kept her principles remembered for fighting for authentic representation, but she lost the battle for her show. The tragedy is not that they fought. The tragedy is that the system put them in a position where fighting was inevitable, where one had to lose for the other to win. Walker and Rolle created something important despite hating the process, despite undermining each other, and never finding peace. Their conflict is part of Good Times' DNA, and that tension is still felt in episodes. The human cost was real. Rolle spent her final years seeing Good Times remembered mainly for Dyn-o-mite instead of its social message. She died knowing she lost the fight for her show. They never reconciled, never understood each other, never had the conversation that could have shown they were fighting the same battle from different angles. At 78, Walker finally sees it. The system put them against each other, profited from their conflict, and moved on, while they kept the scars. Rolle carried hers to her grave in 1998. Walker carries his now, 26 years later. If he could speak to her today, Walker would express gratitude for her strength, for standing by her beliefs, for teaching lessons even when he resisted them. He would say she gave Good Times its meaning, its weight, and its soul. Walker says he still regrets the silence of the phone call he never made, the conversation he put off. He never told Rolle how much he respected her, how much her strength mattered. If he could, he would just say thank you. No excuses, no explanations, just thank you. That moment is gone, and he knows it. The same stubborn independence that made him a comedy kamikaze made him a political outlier and the keeper of the Good Times story after Rolle died. So was Walker brave for admitting the truth, or cowardly for waiting until Rolle could not respond? Would she forgive him today? Let us know what you think. Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.